I would like to start by telling you a story. There once was a shepherd and his sheep. They lived on the most beautiful meadow you could ever imagine, and the shepherd had chosen this place specifically for them. The sheep didn't need to worry about anything. They knew that the shepherd would care, protect and provide for them. Because the most beautiful thing about this whole place was the love between the shepherd and his sheep. The shepherd loved his sheep more than anything. He lived right among them in the flock, and his pride and joy was in them. The sheep on their part loved him back. They trusted him, looked up to him and recognized his voice. All was good. All was very good. But then one day the sheep were in the mood to explore, and they didn't wait for the shepherd to guide them, even though they knew that he knew the terrain better than them. They went off on their own. Suddenly they stood before a steep ravine with sharp cliffs on either side. But the sheep had never come across anything like it before, so they continued on. And the entire flock fell down into the ravine. As soon as the shepherd noticed that his sheep were gone, he set out to search for them. It didn't take long before he found the ravine and heard the frightened cries of his beloved flock. His heart ached, and in that instant he knew he had to save them, even though it would be the most dangerous and painful thing he had ever done. He knew that his sheep were meant to be on the meadow, not down there. His sheep were meant to be with him, not alone. And he knew that they would not be able to save themselves. I am their shepherd and they are my sheep, he thought. I have to save them, even if it costs me everything. This story is a simplified explanation of the Christian faith, with emphasis on simplified. There is so much more you can talk about when it comes to Christianity. This speech will only cover the fundamentals. Another disclaimer is that all that I am about to say is according to the Christian faith. There are arguments for and against, great arguments, but that is a whole other topic and a whole other speech. Now, this story with the shepherd and the sheep is common in the Bible. The shepherd represents God, who in the Bible and according to Christian beliefs is the personal, moral, loving, infinite first cause of the universe and everything in it. The personal, moral, loving, infinite first cause. God is holy, which means that he is 100% good. And he is the source of all the good that is in the world. In him there is no evil, and without him there is no good. The sheep represents mankind, us humans, who God created in his image with the purpose of having the same loving relationship with him face to face as the shepherd and the sheep had in the story. And because God is love, he gave us free will, as there can be no love without free will. We were free, just as the sheep were, to choose what direction to go. And that's what we did. Mankind chose to live without God and try to find its own purpose without the one who had actually given us life and purpose in the first place. The problem is that we then turned away from God. Without him, there is no good, and so we invited evil into our lives. The problem with this is that we and God then became like the opposite ends of a magnet, like a proton and its antiparticle. Pure good and pure evil just can't come close to each other. Suddenly, we were like the sheep in the ravine, separated from our shepherd forever. In other words, we had to die. But God loves us too much to simply give us up. He wanted to forgive us. When you forgive, you decide that although someone has done you wrongly, you won't let the guilty person take the punishment. Inevitably, that leaves you to handle the consequence, because there is always some kind of consequence, big or small. God chose to forgive us. The shepherd in the story was ready to give up everything he had on the beautiful meadow and instead risk everything to go down into the ravine and save his sheep. This is exactly what God did. Jesus, who is God, came to us here on earth, and when he was crucified, he took upon himself our punishment. Instead of us dying as the consequence of our sin, God himself died. That way he could forgive us. But the story doesn't end there. Jesus was resurrected. He defeated death. Through his death, we were given life. And just as he was resurrected, we can one day be resurrected and live as we were intended to, forever together with our shepherd on the beautiful meadow. Why did I want to talk about this? Well, there are a number of reasons, but because I am running out of time, I'll only give you the most important one. I want you to understand your options. The question of does God exist, and if he does, who is he, is too important to be left unanswered. And as with any decision, you have to know your options before you can decide. I want your decision to be a fair and well-educated one. So this is Christianity. It's about a shepherd and his love for his sheep. When the sheep get lost and hurt, the shepherd is prepared to do anything and everything to find them, heal them, and bring them home again. Thank you so much for listening.